Straight Out of Hell, album number 14 from power metal legends Helloween, who of course are responsible for The Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 1 and 2, and as of most recently, in 2010 they released an album entitled Seven Sinners. Now, straight from the band themselves, they said that Straight Out of Hell is kind of a continuation of the past couple of albums that the band has released. And this is an album that is able to continue on with their traditional power metal style while adding a little bit more of a kind of a positive glow to it. And this is more in how the music itself is represented as opposed to the lyrical content that is subjected within. This album really has it's very lengthy. It is clocked in at a little bit more than an hour long. However, it does have a lot of a great flow to it. The flow is once again a very exquisite point that can be made on this release. And Helloween themselves have been very, very good and very strong in making albums that do have superior flow, where they take the power metal idea that they themselves have really raised ever since its infancy and made it into a viable force here in the heavy metal universe, and sort of make it very accessible for many people where they don't feel too bogged down by the product. Now on this album we're going to have a wide range of different topics, things that really explore various aspects of life and history, including the travesties of the church, and doing a little bit more introspective thinking as well. The track Burning Sun actually comes with a bonus version that includes a Hammond organ, which is a direct tribute to John Lord from Deep Purple, who unfortunately passed away in 2012. So this is a very nice tribute to the late and the great John Lord. Overall, this album definitely reminds me of something that does have that positive glow that they spoke about. And really with the musical cues, you can kind of tell, because if you hear something that's a little bit more down-tuned, either that or it has a lot more of that rough and gruff edge to it, it's something that you can kind of construe with a little bit more of a doom and gloom element. And with this album, you hear a little bit more of the elative highs, something that translates more into some positive chord progressions, if you even want to call it that. It's very, very interesting how music itself, without lyrical content and without lyrical diction, can sometimes drive your mood, or at least drive how you feel while you listen to it itself. It's one of those unsolved mysteries of music that we speak about so often here on the Coverkillernation channel. Now, throughout this album, you're going to notice that it just feels like Helloween has really caught a stride, including albums such as Seven Sinners previous to it, that just, the writing is very loose, and it's something that is coming very, very naturally. Now, you would think that after 14 albums that this is something that would be an obvious fact. However, what seems to happen with a lot of bands, and only the truly classic and legendary ones seem to always get it right, is that after a number of albums, sometimes the songwriting can become increasingly stale and very unproductive based around that. It can be something where you almost want to zest for more and zest to push the boundaries, but you find the boundaries harder and harder to really stretch whenever you reach a certain point of your career, because it just seems like it's so difficult to come up with that new creative idea or that new boundary-pushing development that will truly spark a revolution. Instead, Helloween has seemed to just be happy with the fact that they are able to tweak their core sound just enough with each progressive album in order to make it new, unique, and have an atmosphere all its own. The atmosphere on this album gives me a lot of hope, and gives me a lot of certainty that this was one that was written with very little in the way of challenge. It was something where they were able to craft these ideas at a very fluid pace, and it was something that didn't involve a lot of differentiation, and definitely brought a lot of positive change. Overall, with the flow aspect and with the musical aspect, I have to say that this album is extremely strong, but whenever you blend that with the lyrics, whenever you blend it with the stories that the lyrics themselves are able to tell from song to song, that is what makes this album very complete. It's what's able to wrap it together in a nice, neat little bow. Now, as far as any negatives are concerned, I feel that sometimes the ideas can borderline on, well, We've heard this before, but let's face it, this is something that every band really deals with, and Seven Sinners was no different. I felt that Seven Sinners had a very, very great flow. It had a tremendous resource as far as musical diversity was concerned, but at some points just felt a little bit bogged down by itself. That happens a little bit on this record, but it's very, very seldom that you really feel that. It's something that, as I always have said, the flow of the album makes it feel like you are listening to an album that's shorter than it truly is. And it definitely feels to be the case in regards to this album. It really actually feels to be about 45 minutes in length or something along those lines, which is a very, very good indicator that they have been able to avoid that idea of being so full of themselves or so full of their music that they make it unnecessarily long to the point in which the tracks themselves become bogged down and boring. Overall, I really enjoyed this release. I think that the power metaler in you, or really just even the classic metaler in you, Cover Killer Nation, would really like this album. It has just enough charm and just enough diversity in it to really appeal to a lot of people. This is not strictly just a power metalers only release, as some tend to be. So this is an album I would definitely give a strong 8 out of 10. Definitely something to check out. Definitely one that should be purchased and picked up by you guys. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks again.